Hello and welcome to Matt's Casual Cooking and welcome to Bread Month. Whole month I'm going to dedicate to the wonderful tasting bread that you can make at home any time of year, and it's really fun. It tastes really good. But today we are going to be making the classic white bread. So we're going to go over all the ingredients and how to put it together, and let's get to it.
All right, folks. So we're going to go over the ingredients today, and as you can see, there's really not a lot, and that's one of the nice things about this recipe is you really don't need a lot of ingredients for it. So it's very simple. It does take some time to make, but honestly, it is very much worth it. So we're going to break this down into three parts. So for the first part, in a large mixing bowl, you're going to want 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and you need 1 package of active dry yeast or Insta yeast. Now in a saucepan, you're going to need 2.5 cups of milk, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 tablespoon of butter, margarine, or shortening, and you're also going to need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Now in the second bowl, you're going to need about 3 3/4 to about 4.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We just need to set that aside. Now you can add a little bit more to that if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that, but we are going to need extra flour for it. And then now on the yeast, for this recipe specifically, I really like using the Insta yeast. I think it makes a little bit softer bread on there, and it's really good either way. But if you want to use the active yeast, there's nothing wrong with it. And also what you want to use for your stand mixer, you are going to want a bread hook. We don't want to use the paddle for this. We just want to use the bread hook. This is going to be a lot easier, trust me, to work with. You don't want to use anything else. Use a bread hook. So we're going to go over how to put everything together here, and I will see you in a minute. All right, folks, so you can see we have all the ingredients here for the saucepan, and all we're going to do is we are looking for a temperature of 120 to 130 degrees. Now, if you go over that, just remove it from the heat and let it kind of cool down a little bit. We don't want to go too high, or we're going to kill the yeast, and that's not what we're looking for, and it's not going to rise like how we expect. Now, you can see I do have a temperature gauge I can attach to the saucepan, and if you have one of these, just make sure it doesn't hit the bottom of the saucepan, or you're going to get an incorrect reading. It's going to read the heat from the metal. Now, if you don't have one, I just suggest a smaller one. I like using this one a lot, but using this one today. So once it reaches the 120, 130 degree, I like it closer to 120, and then I take it off. Go ahead and pour it in with your flour mixture and yeast, and then we'll move on to that step. So I will see you then. Folks, I know it's hard to see, but the milk mixture is done. I went ahead and poured it in here, and all you're going to do is you're going to beat it on low to medium for just 30 seconds. We don't need to do it that much. And then after that, we're going to move on to the next step. So I will see you then. Folks, so the initial mixing is done. So all you want to do now is in that bowl that we set aside with the flour, you want to go ahead and add all that in. And we're going to beat it on medium for about 3 minutes. And make sure while you're doing it, if you need to stop it and scrape the sides a little bit to make sure all the flour is combined, go ahead and do that. So after that's done, what we're going to do is you're going to get out some extra flour, and we're going to turn it out onto a floured surface. So I will see you then. All right, folks, so our dough is done, and you see I've put it out on a floured surface, and I did add some flour to the top of it because it's going to make it easy to work with. Now it seems like the dough is kind of falling apart. That's okay. We're going to be kneading it together, and it's going to kind of clump up together as well. So don't worry about it too much. So while we're kneading it, it's going to kind of add it together. So what you want to do, just kind of take it and fold, kind of press down into it. And you're going to want to do this until the dough is kind of elastic. This should only take about 6 to 8 minutes of kneading. And then once that's done, we're going to move on to the next step. So I will see you then. All right, folks, so our dough is done. So what you want to do now is you want to get out a decent sized bowl. Now it doesn't have to be glass. If you want to use glass, you can certainly do that. You just want to take some cooking oil or some spray, it doesn't matter. I like using cooking oil for this. Pour a little bit in the bottom. We don't want it necessarily to pool down there. All we're going to do, kind of slide it around a portion of it. Kind of grease the sides a little more. That's okay. Alright, so take your dough, and you do want to put it into a ball shape. Go ahead and add it to here. Go ahead and cover it with like a terry cloth and set it in a warm place. Now we're going to let it rise for 45 to about 60 minutes, or just until it's doubled in size. So if it's a little bit before that, then we're going to be done. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you then. Alright, folks, so you can see our dough is done. It has doubled in size since about an hour ago. If you think you need a little bit more time to let it go ahead, then all we're going to do is just going to kind of punch it down a little bit. And we want to turn it out onto a floured surface just like before. So we're going to add extra flour to it from before. You can get some extra flour, go ahead. But we don't want to overdo it with the flour here. We want to add a little bit to it. And we're just going to kind of punch it down at this point because we're actually getting ready to roll it and actually make it into the bread. Just want to kind of get it all in. So all we're going to do now is go ahead and take something to kind of cut it in half. There we go. Now to actually make your loaf, there are a couple different options. You want to kind of punch this down and actually roll it. I probably need to punch it down a little bit more. Kind of flatten it out. Alright. Then you can either, if you want to, just kind of roll it up like this into a kind of pat and pinch it together. Kind of just set it. It wants to kind of stick together. Kind of set it down. It's really kind of up to you. What I just like to do is kind of like just pat it out and just kind of fold it kind of into like a loaf shape itself, not necessarily rolling or patting or whatever. I mean, this is entirely up to you. Kind of really what you want to do. So all we're going to do now is save your cloth too that you used before. Go ahead and just put it back over it. And we're going to let it rest for 10 minutes. And once that's done, we're going to go ahead and cook it. So also what you want to do now is get out at least 2 bread pans and some cooking spray for them. So I will do that. Alright folks, so what you want to do is after it's been about 10 minutes and you let them rest, is you want to get out at least 3 bread pans and just kind of lightly spray the interior of them and go ahead and put your dough in them. Now what we're also going to do at this time, I know we let the dough rest a lot, but for the last time we need to let the dough rest for about 30 to 40 minutes. So this is going to help it kind of fill up the bread pans as well. And you can also see I have a glass, and I actually have my favorite kind of metal one here. This one is probably going to cook a little bit more evenly for you than the metal. But if you do only have metal, that's fine. But I do like using the glass as well, occasionally on the bread. So go ahead and cover that. Let it sit for about 30 to 40, and I will see you then. Alright folks, so our bread is done, and now we finally get to cook it. So what you want to do is turn your oven to 375 degrees, and we're going to cook it for 40 minutes, or until like when you tap on it, it kind of sounds hollow on the inside. So once that's done, take them out of the oven, and you want to take them out of the pans and put them on a cooling rack. And one thing you can do too, is you kind of roll it into a roll. If you want to take like a knife, kind of make a couple little cuts on top, so when it cooks, it'll kind of, like on bread, it'll kind of have that middle there kind of showing. And that's pretty cool, so if you want to do that. Now, if you're having trouble with it kind of feeling hollow, what you can do for like the last 5-10 minutes of cooking is put like some aluminum foil over it, and that will help it out. So go ahead and do that, and I will see you after it's done. Alright folks, so we are done. You can see I got them on the cooling rack. Until they're kind of a little squishy, you tap on it, I can hear a little hollow noise coming out of it. So these are done, these are good. They're going to be kind of nice and hard on the outside a little, but they're going to be nice and kind of soft on the inside. And that's really the kind of how I like to make the bread like this. So you can use these really for anything. Sandwiches, garlic bread, just even reheating the bread in the microwave and then putting some butter on it. I think it's really good. I really like doing that with this kind of bread. If you enjoyed making this recipe today, like, subscribe, share. Please leave a comment below. I want to know what you guys think of my cooking. And I want to know if you made it and see how you like it as well. So I want to thank you for watching, and come back next week for more Bread Month. So I will see you then.